The taxi idled in front of a convenience store in downtown San Francisco while Max Vision paid the driver and unfolded his 6 foot 5 frame from the back of the car, his thick brown hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. He stepped into the store and waited for the cab to disappear down the street before emerging for the 2 block walk to his safe house. Around him, tiny shops and newsstands awakened under the overcast sky, and suited workers filed into the office towers looming above. Max was going to work too, but his job would not have him home after 9 hours for a good night's sleep. He would be cloistered for days this time. Once he put his plan into motion, there would be no going home. No slipping out for a bite of dinner. No date night at the multiplex. Nothing until he was done. This was the day he was declaring war. His long gait took him to the Post Street Towers. From the street, a 5 by 14 grid of identical bay windows trim painted the color of the Golden Gate Bridge. He would been coming to this apartment complex for months, doing his best to blend in with the exchange students drawn by short leases and reasonable rents. Nobody knew his name, not his real one anyway, and nobody knew his past. Here, he was not Max Butler, the small-town troublemaker driven by obsession to a moment of life-changing violence, and he was not Max Vision, the self-named computer security expert paid $100 an hour to harden the networks of Silicon Valley companies. As he rode up the apartment building elevator, Max became someone else. Iceman, a rising leader in a criminal economy responsible for billions of dollars in thefts from American companies and consumers. And Iceman was fed up. For months he would be popping merchants around the country, prying out piles of credit card numbers that should have been worth hundreds of thousands on the black market. But the market was broken. 2 years earlier, Secret Service agents had driven a virtual bulldozer through the computer underworld's largest gathering spot, arresting the ringleaders at gunpoint and sending the rest scurrying into chat rooms and small-time web forums, all riddled with security holes and crawling with feds and snitchers. It was a mess. Whether they knew it or not, the underworld needed a strong leader to unify them, to bring order. Off the elevator, Max idled in the hallway to check for a trail, then walked to his apartment door and entered the oppressive warmth of the rented studio. Heat was the biggest problem with the safe house. The servers and laptops crammed into the space produced a swelter that pulsed through the room. He would brought in fans over the summer, but they provided scant relief and lofted the electric bill so high that the apartment managers suspected him of running a hydroponic dope farm. But it was just the machines, entwined in a web of cables, the most important snaking to a giant parabolic antenna aimed out of the window like a sniper rifle. Shrugging off his discomfort, Max sat at his keyboard and trained a bead on the web forums where computer criminals gathered. Virtual cantinas with names like Dark Market and Talk Cash, and for 2 days he hacked, his fingers flying at preternatural speed as he breached the site's defenses, stealing their content, logins, passwords, and email addresses. When he tired, he crashed out on the apartment's fold-away bed for an hour or two, then returned blurry-eyed to his work. He finished with a few keystrokes that wiped out the site's databases with the ease of an arsonist flicking a match. On August 16th, 2006, he dispatched an unapologetic mass email to the denizens of the sites he would destroy. They were all now members of Iceman's own cartersmarket.com, suddenly the largest criminal marketplace in the world. 6,000 users strong and the only game in town. With one stroke, Max had undermined years of careful law enforcement work and revitalized $1 billion criminal underworld. In Russia and Ukraine, Turkey and Great Britain, and in apartments, offices, and houses across America, criminals would awaken to the announcement of the underground's first hostile takeover. Some of them kept guns in their nightstands to protect their millions in stolen loot, but they could not protect themselves from this. FBI and Secret Service agents who would spend months or years infiltrating the now destroyed underground forums would read the message with equal dismay. And for a moment, all of them, hacking masterminds, thuggish Russian mobsters, masses of fake identities, and the cops sworn to catch them, would be unified by a single thought. And the thought is, who the fuck is Iceman? My name is Rushen, and you're listening to Road Hack. As soon as the pickup truck rolled up to the curb, the teenage computer geeks squatting on the sidewalk knew there would be trouble. Fucking waivers, one of the cowboys called out the window. A beer bottle flew from the truck and crashed on the pavement, and the geeks who would left the club to talk away from the din of music had seen it all before. In Boise, in 1988, being caught in public without a wide belt buckle and a cowboy hat was a bottling offense. Then one of the geeks did something the cowboys were not expecting. He stood up. Tall and broad-shouldered, Max Butler cut a quietly imposing figure that was enhanced by his haircut, a spiky punk rock brush that added 3 inches to his height. And he asks, "Waiver?" Feigning ignorance of the boys' slang for new wave music fans and other freaks. And they were like, "What's that?" The two cowboys blustered and swore, then finally drove away with a screech of tires and the waving of mud flaps. Since they met one another in junior high, Max had become the unofficial bodyguard in the clutch of fellow computer nerds in Meridian, Idaho, a bedroom community then separated from Boise by 8 miles of patchy farmland. The town fathers had named Meridian a century earlier for its placement directly on the Boise Meridian, one of the 37 invisible north-south lines that form the y-axis in America's land survey system. But that was probably the only thing geeky about the town, where the high school rodeo team got all the girls. Max's parents had married young, and they would move to Idaho from Phoenix when he was an infant. In some ways, Max combined their best qualities. Robert Butler was a Vietnam veteran, an enthusiastic technology buff who ran a computer store in Boise. Natalie Skorupski was the daughter of Ukrainian immigrants, a humanist and a peacenik. She liked to relax in front of the Weather Channel and nature documentaries. Max inherited his mother's clean living values, eschewing red meats, cigarettes, and alcohol and drugs, except for an ill-fated experiment with chewing tobacco. From his father, Max acquired a deep passion for computers. He grew up surrounded by exotic machines, from giant business computers that could double as an office desk to the first suitcase-sized portable IBM compatibles. Max was allowed to play with them freely. He started programming in BASIC at the age of 8. But Max's equilibrium disappeared when his parents divorced in his 14th year. His father wound up in Boise, while Max lived in Meridian with his mother and his younger sister, Lisa. The divorce devastated the teenager and seemed to reduce him to 2 modes of operation. One is relaxed and the other is full bore fucking insane. When his magic side flared, the world was too slow to keep up. His brain moved at light speed and focused like a laser on whatever task was before him. After he got his driver's license, he drove his silver Nissan like the accelerator was a toggle switch, speeding from stop sign to stop sign, wearing lab goggles like a mad scientist conducting an experiment in Newtonian physics. As Max protected his friends, they tried to protect Max from himself. His best buddy, a genial kid named Tim Spencer, found Max's world exciting but was constantly reining in his friend's impetuousness. One day, he emerged from his home to find Max standing over an elaborate geometric pattern burning in the lawn. Max found a canister of gasoline nearby, and Tim shouted, "Max, this is our house." And Max sputtered apologies as the pair stamped out the blaze. It was Max's impulsive side that made his friends resolve not to tell him about the key. The Meridian geeks had found the key ring in an unlocked desk at the back of the chemistry lab. For a time, they just watched it, sliding open the desk drawer when the lab instructor was not around and checking to see if it was still there. Finally, they swiped it, smuggled it from the lab, and discreetly began testing its keys against various locks on the Meridian High campus. That was how they discovered that one of the keys was a master key to the school. It opened the front door and every door behind it. 4 copies were made, one for each of them: Tim, Seth, Luke, and John. The keyring was returned to the darkness of the chemistry lab desk after being carefully wiped down for fingerprints. They all agreed that Max must not know. A master key to the high school is a very special talisman that must be wielded with great care, not squandered on foolishness. So the juniors vowed to save the key for an epic senior prank. They would sneak into the school and hijack the PA system, blaring music into every classroom. Until that day, the 4 keys would stay in hiding, a burden borne in silence by the 4 of them. Nobody liked keeping secrets from Max, but they could see that he was already on a collision course with the school's administrators. Max scoffed at the curriculum, and while instructors droned on about history or sketched equations on the blackboard, Max would sit at his desk thumbing through computer printouts from dial-up bulletin board systems and the pre-web internet. His favorite read was an online hacker newsletter called Frack, spelled Phrack, a product of the late 1980s hacking scene. In its plain, unadorned text, Max could follow the exploits of editors Taran King and Night Lightning, and contributors like Phone Fanatic, Crimson Death, and Sir Hackalot. The first generation to come of age in home computing era was tasting the power at its fingertips, and Frack was a jolt of subversive electric information from a world far beyond Meridian's sleepy borders. A typical issue was packed with tutorials on packet-switched networks like Telnet and Timnet, guides to telephone company computers like Cosmos, and inside looks at large-scale operating systems powering mainframe and mini-computers in air-conditioned equipment rooms around the globe. Frack also diligently tracked news reports from the frontier battleground between hackers and their opponents in state and federal law enforcements, who were just beginning to meet the challenges posed by recreational hackers. In July 1989, a Cornell graduate student named Robert T. Morris Jr. was charged under a brand new federal computer crime after he launched the first internet worm, a virus that spread to 6,000 computers, clogging network bandwidth and dragging systems to a halt. The same year, in California, a young Kevin Mitnick picked up his second hacking arrest and received 1 year in prison, a startlingly harsh sentence at the time. Max became Lord Max on the boys' bulletin board systems and delved into phone phreaking, a hacking tradition dating to the 1970s. When he used his Commodore 64 modem to scan for free long-distance codes, he had his first run-in with the federal government. And a Secret Service agent from the boys' field office visited Max at school and confronted him with the evidence of his freaking. Because he was a juvenile, he was not charged. But the agent warned Max to change course before he got in real trouble. Max promised he would learn his lesson. Then the unthinkable happened. Max noticed an odd shape on John's keyring and asked what it is. John confessed the truth. Max and John entered the school that very night and went berserk. Either one or both of them scrawled messages on the walls, sprayed fire extinguishers in the hallways, and plundered the locked closet in the chemistry lab. Max carted off an assortment of chemicals and piled them into the backseat of his car. Seth's phone rang early the next morning. It was Max. He would left Seth a gift in his front yard. Seth walked out to find the bottles of chemicals sitting in a pile on his lawn, and he panicked. He scooped them up and took them into the back, where he grabbed a shovel and started digging a hole. His mother stepped out back and caught Seth in the act of burying the evidence. "You know, I have to tell the school now, right?" his mom said. And Seth was brought into principal's office and interrogated, but he refused to name Max. One by one, the other Meridian high geeks were dragged in by the school's uniformed security officer for questioning, some in handcuffs. When it was John's turn, he spilled the beans. The school called the police, who found a telltale yellow iodine stain in the back of Max's Nissan. The chemical theft was taken very seriously in Meridian. Max was expelled from school and prosecuted as a juvenile. He pleaded guilty to malicious injury to property, first-degree burglary, and grand theft, and spent 2 weeks at an in-care facility under psychiatric evaluation, where the staff diagnosed him as bipolar. His final sentence was probation. His mother sent him to Boys to live with his father and attend Bishop Kelly, the only Catholic high school in the state. Max's first criminal conviction was a minor one, but the impulsiveness and mischievousness that spawned it ran deep in Max's personality, and he was destined to hold a lot more master keys.